Hi everyone. In this video, we are discussing a Leetcode medium level problem, and it's a MySQL based problem. And the problem title is, the problem number is 1532, and the title is the most recent three orders, right? Okay, so they have given the schema. We have only two tables here. The first table is called as the customers table, containing only two columns. One is customer ID, which is given to be the primary key for this table. So it has to be unique IDs. And then name, the customer's name, right? So there is another information in this table, just two columns. And then there is another table called as orders, and it contains four columns. One is order ID, which is given to be the primary key for this table. And then there is order date, which is going to play a very important role in this problem. And then customer ID, even though they did not mention that here, customer ID, it has to be the foreign key referencing the customer ID belonging to the customers table. Okay, so to know like which customers ordered which item, right? So there is customer ID, and then there is the cost of the item. So it contains these four columns, right? And it's also given, it's another important information. It's given that each customer has only one order per day, right? A customer can have maximum of one order per day, right? Okay, so we need to write a SQL query to find the most recent three orders of each customer. So obvious, when they say most recent, it's of course with respect to the order date, right? So we need to find, for each customer, we need to find the most recent three orders. And if a user ordered less than three orders, then we will have to return all their orders. Okay, even that makes sense. Like for example, if a particular customer ordered 7 orders, he placed 7 orders, let's say, then we will have to return only the most recent 3. Whereas if a customer has placed only 3 orders or less than 3 orders, then we will have to return all the orders, right? Okay, and we will have to return the final result table in this following, format, in the following order. Okay, so that is, it has to be ordered by customer name in ascending order. Okay, this condition is not very important. I mean, like, it's important, but right now it's not very important. Ordering is the simplest thing. We can take care of it once we're done with the code. Okay, so this, we'll get back to it later. And they have given one example. So here you can see the customers table, containing the details of the customers. You have the customer ID, the unique customer ID, and the customer name. And then we have orders table, consisting of all those details like unique order ID, and then we have order date, based on which we are going to figure out the most recent orders for each customer. And then we have customer ID, which is not unique. Customer ID is unique in the customers table, whereas here it cannot be unique because, like, one customer can place multiple orders. As you can clearly see here, the customer number 1, right, has placed 4 orders, right? Customer number 2 placed 3 orders, right? So each customer will make different number of orders. Okay, and then we have the cost of the item, which is the least important thing in this problem, because the problem statement has got nothing to do with the cost, right? And the output will look like this. As you can see here in the output, this is the expected output, the format of the expected output. It doesn't involve cost at all, so we can completely ignore that cost altogether. So all that we need is customer name, then customer ID, order ID, and order date. And these are the entries. These are the records for each and every customer. And only it contains the most recent 3 orders. Okay. So the explanation is just whatever I told you. Like if you want, you can pause and read this. It's the same thing that I told you. Okay. Fine. So how to go about this problem? Let's keep this example for reference. Yeah, how to go about this problem. I guess we'll start with the CTE. We'll use CTE method. Okay, so we'll create a temporary table. Okay, so with CTE as, so we create a temporary table, and in this table, I'm going to capture the customer ID, order date, okay, of the most recent 3 orders, right? So that particular part is, of course, the trickiest part of the problem. So we will, handle that in a while. Okay, so don't worry about it. Okay, as of now, we're going to capture only the following 3 things: customer ID, We are just first capturing the obvious ones. Okay, customer ID, we can directly take it from the orders table. And then we have order ID. Okay, even that we can directly obtain from the orders table. Then there is order date, again from the same table, right? Now here, we are going to use a window function. Right here, we are going to use a window function. We are going to use this function in order to give a row number for each and every record here. Okay, so I'll first code it out and then I'll explain, like, what purpose it's serving. Okay, so it's a window function that we're using in order to produce a row number for each and every row. Okay, so we are creating this row number over, right? We are creating this row number over. The first thing that we are supposed to do is we are interested in finding the most recent 3 orders for each and every customer. So the first thing that we are supposed to do is to partition by the customer ID. Okay, so the first thing that we are supposed to do is to partition by the customer ID, right? So we will have a different set of row numbers for the customer with ID 1, and then we will have different set of row numbers for the customer with ID 2. The row number will keep restarting. It's not like one row number for the entire table. It's not like 1, 2, 3 all the way till how much ever records are there. Okay, it's not just one row number, continuous row number for the entire table. It's going to keep resetting for every customer, right? For customer ID 1, you will have separate set of row numbers. For customer ID 2, you will have separate set of row numbers. Okay, so that way it will keep resetting for each and every customer. So that's one thing. Okay, but also we are interested in capturing the most recent 3 orders. Okay, so we will have to not just partition by the customer, we will also have to say order it by the order date. Okay, so that's another thing we have to do inside this window function. We will have to order it by order date. We will have to order it by order date in descending order because we are interested in finding the the recent ones, right? So we are ordering it by the descending order of the order date. Okay, so this whole thing, let me call it this whole thing. Okay, whatever I have highlighted here. So this whole thing, let's call it something like, I'm simply calling it row number. Okay, row. Okay, let's call it row. And we are obtaining all these informations from which table? From the orders table. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so these are the information we are obtaining from the orders table. Okay, now we are going to make the actual query, the main query. Okay, in the main query, you can look at the output once again. In the output, we have the customer ID, which is already there in the CTE. We have the order ID. Okay, yeah, that also there in the CTE. We have order date, that is also there in the CTE. But we also need customer name. That is not there in the CTE. That is not there. It is not at all there in the orders table itself. It is there only in the customers table. So we will have to somehow join the CTE and the customers table. And it's very obvious that we will have to join it on the customer's ID because that is the only common column that they are sharing. Okay, so we will join it on the customer ID. Okay, so that join we have to do, right? We can do that regular inner join, that is more than enough, right? Okay, so what are we supposed to do? So the query will be like this: select customer name, right? So that's the first thing we want, customer name, customer ID, and then we want order ID, and then we want order date. So these are the 4 columns we want. Okay, so by looking at the output format, it's obvious that we need these 4 columns. Okay, so particularly when it comes to customer ID, we have to be a bit careful because there is some ambiguity here, right? Because customer ID is there in CTE also, it is also there in customers table, right? We will have to join them, right? So we're going to join them on the customer ID only. So is it referencing the customer ID of the CTE or the customers table? Okay, so it'll be better if we can offer some clarity. So we can mention that it's CTE dot customer ID. Okay, so that apart, other columns are they don't have any problem because customer name belongs to only the customers table, and order ID belongs to CTE, order date belongs to CTE. Those columns are not there in the customers table. Okay, so yeah, these 4 columns we are obtaining from the CTE table, but like I told you, we are joining it with the customers table and we are joining it on the customer ID column, right? We are joining it on the customer ID column, right? Okay, we're joining it on this customer ID column. Okay. Okay, so we are extracting these four information: customer name, customer ID, order date, and we have also clubbed or like combined by inner join both the CT table and the customers table using this join thing, and we are joining it on the customer ID. Okay, fine. What else we are supposed to do? Are we missing anything? Just two more things we need to do. One is you check this row column. It's a derived column, okay, which was not there in the in any of the original table we created, right? That row column. And like I told you, that row column will keep resetting for every single customer, and it is ordered as per the reverse order, the descending order of order date. Okay, so we have to impose this condition that the row, okay, that variable we call it row, should be less than 4. We have to impose this condition that the row should be less than 4, right? By doing so, we are basically capturing the most 3 recent orders. If we don't impose this condition, all that we are going to get is all the orders placed by each and every customer in reverse order of the order date. That's it. You will get all the orders. If a customer has placed 7 orders, you will get all the 7 orders in the reverse order, right? The most recent one first, and in descending order you will get it. Okay, so we don't want that. We want only the most recent 3 orders. Okay, so we will have to impose this condition that the row number is less than 4. Okay, fine. So that is one condition. And also we will have to order by they have given some bunch of conditions, right? First, we will have to order by the customer name in ascending order. So customer name is the first column, so I'll simply put 1. We don't even have to explicitly state that it's ascending. By default it's ascending. Okay, and then if there is a tie, we will have to order it by the customer ID, which is the second column here, so I put 2. And even then there is a tie, we will have to order it by the order date, which is the 4th column here, but in descending order, right? That's it. So we'll run this code. There seems to be some error. Okay, that's so silly of me. I didn't even put select over here. Very, very silly. I didn't even put select. Okay, did I close the bracket? Yeah, all that is fine. Yeah. Okay. What is the problem here? Okay, so the problem is row is in blue. You can clearly see that. So probably there is an issue just because row happens to be a keyword of MySQL. So maybe I'll change that variable name. I call it RW. Let me run it. Customer name, unknown column, customer name in the field list. Okay, we are taking the customer name from the customers table, which is, oh, very sorry. Okay, I was just reading this output. Okay, it's just alias name. It's not the actual name of the column. It's only the alias name. Okay, sorry. Okay, so it has to be customers dot name, or I can simply say name also. It doesn't matter. Okay, I can simply say name also because that name column is nowhere to be seen except for that particular table. Okay, and it has to be called as customer's name, right? Only in the output it is being referenced as customer name, right? And customer ID is customer ID, order ID is order ID, all other names are same. Okay, so only for that name they are using the alias customer name. Okay, so I initially thought that, okay, the customer name itself is originally there in the customers table. Now it should work. Okay, great, it did work. So let's actually submit our code and check. Good, our code is also accepted, and even the runtime wise and memory usage wise, it's doing pretty decently. I hope you found this video useful. Thank you for watching.